Hello everyone and welcome to the Sim Auto Racing Association Tundra Super Sim Series presented by Loco Toco Designs. We are at Concord Speedway for the SARA Downeast Chassisworx 150 tonight, where these super late model drivers will be doing their best and putting on the best show for 150 laps. I am your host for tonight, Derek Robinson, and I do have a special guest with me up in the booth tonight. I have someone that is in top 10 in career poles and top 10 in career wins in the Sim Auto Racing Association series through across all of our series. It is with Mr. Ty Spearman. How are you today, Ty?
Doing awesome, Derek. Thanks.
Well, Ty, before we go any further, I would like to go over for the rest of the week series that lead up to our big Super Sim series, all the races that lead up into that. And for Monday night, we had the midgets at Lanier, and David Bodio walked away with the victory in that. It was his 9th career SARA victory, and he closed the point gap to me. It's down to 2 points with drop weeks coming into effect here before too long. He's probably going to be your point leader. The heat winners for that night were David Bodio and Clay Snyder. Tuesday night, Tim Bills dominated at Volusia in the UMP cars. Picked up the win there, and the heat winners were Michael Dollard and Clay Snyder once again with another heat win. Points in that series is David Kikorian's first, Clay Snyder is second, 36 points behind him. Mount Rolfe tops out your top 3. Wednesday night, for the Callaway Investment Sportsman Series, Kyle Souza picked up the win for his 3rd career win. He led 74 laps, started 5th. Matt Rolfe finished 2nd. 3rd was Andre Gorney. Excuse me, probably messed it up once again. And then we come into tonight with the Concord Speedway. And Jimmy Mullis last week won, leading 150 laps, all 150 laps at the Oxford Plains Speedway. And Ty, you finished, let's see, you finished 5th in that race, if I'm not mistaken. How did last week's race go for you?
It was okay. I think that, you know, when you go to a place like Oxford, at least in SARA, it's a toss-up sometimes on whether your race will go a long green flag run, or maybe you'll have a good many cautions thrown in there. And I think that race, unfortunately for me, there were a few too many cautions. I was looking for more of a long runs. Setup was made for long runs, and unfortunately we just didn't. I don't feel like we got enough of that. Now Jimmy, I think, was in a league all to himself, but for the most part, even though I'm a past winner there at Oxford, I was pretty happy with the top 5.
Yeah, you look strong. It looks like maybe you missed a couple incidents, if I remember correctly, as well. But you're currently sitting 6th in the point standings for the Super Late Model Series. You're out this week. I think it's your first week missing, so you're afforded a couple drop races in this series. Will you be back with us next week?
Yes, I'll be back next week to try to lay down a good qualifying lap for the big event that's coming up at Irwindale Speedway.
Yeah, and just to speak on that real quick, if anybody wants to sign up for that, you can go to racesara.com and sign up for the Midwest Power Source Spring Fest 300 at Irwindale Speedway. We'll have a qualifying night where the top 15 in points get locked in, and then top 10 in qualifying times after that get locked into the race, and we will have a 100-lap last chance qualifier following up all the qualifying events. So be sure to tune into that if you want to watch it. And like I said, if you want to race it, go to racesara.com. Now for tonight, we're at Concord Speedway, and the air temps are at 66 degrees, and the tracted temperature is 71 with overcast skies. And this is a almost half mile, it's 4/10 of a mile, 3-turn miniature Pocono, if you will. It's got 3 different bankings in each turn. Even the straightaways are banked differently, and it's a little tricky to get around here. I did a little testing myself earlier tonight to help out the Matt Rolfe and Daryl Hamlin, who's racing here tonight for the T4X racing team, and it took a little bit to get into a groove around here. What do you think would be the keys to get around here fast tonight consistently, Ty?
So really the key to this track, Derek, honestly, is you really don't need to pay attention to the guy that's in front of you. You really don't need to pay attention to the guy that's behind you. The key to this race is going to be racing the racetrack. Concord's extremely tough to get around. It's very line sensitive, getting into the corners, setting up turn 1, so you can be able to set up the dog leg going into turn 2 on into turn 3. It's a technical track. You need to do that, and you've got to be able to save those tires. You cannot charge these corners and expect to save your tires and or really turn a good lap time. I mean, it's just about being smooth, on the throttle, off the throttle, and hitting your marks.
Well, we'll see what happens with these drivers do here tonight. Now, qualifying, there was an 8-car invert. Qualifying times, you've seen Colin Oman take the top spot with David Krikorian, the second fastest time, and Joe Schaefer Jr. round out your top 3 for the speeds. But like I said, there was an 8-car invert. So starting up front here tonight will be Mike Carlson. And we'll see what he does here with the pole as the practice is starting to wind down here a little bit, and the session should be advancing on. Go ahead and pull up the standings here and see what the standings in the point series looks like. We got Jimmy Mullis up here leading the way. Like I said, he won last week, and he's holding strong with the top spot with 38 points behind him is Joe Schaefer Jr. Third is Tim Bills. Fourth is David Krikorian. Fifth is Ryan Matthews. And like I said, sixth is our very own, the Wiley vet, Tom Spearman. And, you know, there's still a lot of racing to be done here. There's 11 races total. And like I said, there's 9 that count towards your total point score. You get those 2 drop weeks. So it'd be interesting to see what, you know, how it plays out here going on in the Tundra Super Sim series. But these series and the other series don't happen without sponsors. Our sponsors make everything go around. So we'll go ahead and bring those up here and give them a little shout out as well. And like I said, you got the Tundra Super Late Model Series, which you're watching here tonight. Loco Toco Designs, who is all over this series and sponsoring races and even series himself. Hodge Pride's Leather and Sheepskin, Callaway Investments, Epic Media, Our Insurance Options, Back 40 Wraps Inc., Downeast Chassisworx, who is sponsoring tonight's race, Old Schools Motorsports, Dr. Noise, Area 52 Designs, Midwest Race Updates, and Dynamic Autosports. Well, looks like we're going to step away here for just a moment. The admins have to set up a new session. So if you give us just a moment, we'll be right back and right after this break. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Sim Auto Racing Association Tundra Super Sim Series presented by Loco Toco Designs. Sorry for that little delay there. We had some mix-ups there on gridding at pit road. But we're about to go grid up and start up here in just a few minutes, but right now what I'd like to do is go on board with Joe Schaefer Jr., who's second in the points right now. He's going to go around the track here, and we'll see what he's doing. Ty, if you don't mind, if you're on board there with him, just kind of tell us what you would do here or what's kind of going on.
So basically, as Joe goes down the front stretch here, he's got a car ahead of him, but you notice how Joe is staying out far. I guess you could say he's taking a really wide entry down into turn one. One thing that a lot of people will do is they actually go into turn one on the bottom. It's completely the wrong groove. That's the wrong process. You want to scare off turn one to really set you up for going into turn two dogleg down the backstretch. That's where you're going to gain your speed. You're at max speed on the backstretch anyway. How you hit turn one basically dictates your entire lap. And I think it's one of the I'm going to be honest with you. Ty Majeski showed me the line at this place, one SARA race a year or so ago, and I followed the guy the entire race. I couldn't get by him, but I was close enough to where he knew I was there. But yet I knew that, hey, you're following the best iRacer there is. See if you can learn from him. And I learned a lot from Majeski at this racetrack on how to really set up each corner, front stretch, back stretch, everything. And I think that's I had the same conversation with Joe, and I believe that's kind of what you see what he's doing here. He's really taking it out towards the wall, squaring off turn one so he can set up for the dogleg.
Yeah, this track probably more than others, being that there are technically 3 turns, if you will. If you get out of rhythm here or even mess up a line in one turn, it almost takes a full lap to get back into it. For me, I'm a big Supercross fan, but it kind of reminds me of that. Basically, if you mess up one jump or mess up one turn, it takes a little bit to get back into rhythm. More so than others. At least that's how it was when I was out there practicing. So it's, like you said, line is huge here. We'll see if guys can kind of get in the rhythm early on, because I think it's going to be bottom feeding pretty much the whole time, no matter how much we stay green. I don't know how much a second group would actually come in here. We'll go ahead and bring up our sponsors here once again as we're about to grid up for the race. Got Tundra Super Late Models, who sponsors this series, and Loco Toco Designs, and HydesPride.com, Callaway Investments, Epic Media, Our Insurance Options, Back 40 Wraps Inc., Downeast Chassisworx, who's sponsoring here tonight, Old School Motorsports, Dr. Noise, Area 52 Designs, Midwest Race Updates, and Dynamic Auto Sports. With that, we'll go ahead and bring up our starting lineup here. Starting on the pole tonight due to the 8-car invert is Mike Carlson. Outside of him is Ryan Matthews. Starting third is Daryl Hamlin. Fourth is Keith Medeiros. Fifth, Andre Fiorni. Sixth, Joe Schaefer Jr. Seventh, DK David Kokorian. Eighth, Colin Allman. Ninth, Drew Kryback. And rounding out your top 10 for the starting lineup is Billy Moan. Now, Ty, as like I said, it's early on. We've noticed so far this year that starting up front is key. It is huge in winning these races, as Jimmy Mullis proved last week. That starting up front, he led all 150 laps. I believe there was another race, can't think of it off the top of my head, maybe the Bull Ring, where Ryan Matthews, can't remember who it was right now, but it ended up starting on the pole. So do you think starting on the pole tonight was, is a huge advantage here for Mike Carlson?
I think it's a big advantage. I mean, as you said, we've had a handful of races or so this year, and or this season, and 2 people from that started on the pole were able to bring home the win. And you're exactly right. Ryan Matthews did lead, I think, pretty much the whole race at the Bull Ring, and did bring home the victory. So I think it's very important to start up front. The key is just be easy on your equipment.
Well, we'll see what how this plays out. Hopefully everyone has some patience here so we can get in some good racing for everyone that's watching here tonight. Pace car should be pulling off here in the control for this start, and all restarts is on the leader. Once the pace car pulls off, it will be on Mike Carlson here as he comes into turn 3 to bring us to our green flag. We are green, 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 but then it looks like Carlson and Matthews get into each other right off to the start as Matthews go ahead and takes the lead. Stacking up the field here just a little bit. It's extremely tight. Something might be wrong here with Carlson's car. I don't know what's going on with it. He's not going currently, and the A car is going around right in front of DK. There's the caution. That was the A car of Billy Moan. May have gotten some help there. Everything got stacked up from the beginning of that start. Go ahead and watch this replay here. Kind of see further up there in the 50 of Carlson, and it just the bottom line checks up. Let's see what happens here with Mullen. Oh, maybe a little bit of net code there. DK gets into him, and then it just stacks up there down low. Well, that's kind of what we were preaching earlier, though. You know, it's a little bit of patience here early on, but that one may not have been anyone's fault there. That net code gets the best of us sometimes. Back up front here, and Ryan Matthews is led the way. He led it all the way into turn 1. Rose second. Joe Schaefer Jr., who is P2, looking up to make up some ground here on Jimmy Mullis on the points, is P3. Now, Ty, you know, and I know just as well, the start of these races are pretty, there's a lot of give and take, or at least we try to. Some of us that's been in the league for a while try to give and take, but there's just some things you just can't avoid.
No, you're exactly right, Derek. I mean, after you know, the start there, the bottom lane started checking up basically as soon as the green flag flew. It stacked up everyone on the bottom lane, and when they got over to turn 3, everyone was on top of one another.
And hopefully we got that out of the way there, and we can get some green flag racing in here. Right now, it's kind of hard to say what you may have. I think everyone knows kind of what they have going into this, but so a lap or not even of green flag will see what who can work their way up front. This is going to be extremely hard to pass here as we get the nope, not one to go yet. It's probably 2 to go here. But if you had to say, Ty, now it's been a while since I've raced here. I was never really too fond of this track, but if you had to say what's the best way to try to make it a pass on someone, it's generally more often than not you try to beat guys at most tracks coming out of a turn, you know, and make your way or show your nose getting into the turn. But here it's a little bit tricky since you're almost constantly turning.
And that's true, but if you can gain, if you have grip coming off the corner, you may not pass them in the corner. You have to wait till the next corner. So you're basically setting them up the corner before. And I think that's probably what you're going to see, you know, the most of. You got to set the guy up first. And then hopefully that you keep the grip on the bottom to be able to get past him.
Well, let's about to go back to green here. Ryan Matthews is on point. It will be the leader coming here. He controls the restart. See if Keith can do anything on the outside. And we're green, green, green. Ryan Matthews gets off to a great restart. Keith Meadows is going to love that himself. He can fall in right behind him. Looks like Joe may let Colin in here as the first 4 kind of scoot away. And Carlson's back at 5th place, trying to battle that out on the top 4 or single file. Got some close battle going on here between the 07 of Andre and Mike. And Mike is in a sore spot right now. He's stuck on the outside, sitting up there of Hamlin going backwards. Tom Majeski already moving up to 7th place there in the 91. Like we're single file from 1st to 7th. Carlson still stuck on the outside. Maybe find a spot home on the inside here underneath the 46 of Philip Martin. Got a good side-by-side battle here back to for 11th between Matthew Eddy and Darrell Hamlin. 10 Bills. And David Corey, who got caught up in that first early caution, he looks like he has a little damage on the nose, but it shouldn't hurt him too much. Now, Ty, we know that no matter what, aerodynamics is always important, but how important at a small track like this do you think it is to, you know, if you have a crinkled up front fender or anything, you think that'll hurt the car too much if you're David Krikorian?
I think the only thing you have to pay attention to, Derek, is depending upon how hard you're hitting the chip, the rev limiter, especially there on the backstretch, you've got a little bit of damage on the front of the car. You really need to pay attention to your temperatures. You could certainly cook the engine if you're not careful.
Yeah, that is a good point. And you know, for us sim racers, we all have different field of views. You know, some can see the dash and others can't. Some guys may even have some software or even some hardware on their desk or race chassis, you know, that show them those temperatures. But it'd be interesting to see or even know if David Krikorian can see that or keep an eye on it, because you're right. Once you wrinkle up that front end, you may not get the airflow in there that you want. And I think the majority of us end up running around 50% tape anyways, kind of depending on what the temperature's like. But the temps are cool here, so it's probably what everyone's at.
Yeah, more than likely he'll be okay. I think if it was hot, the temperatures were you know, 80 degrees and sunny outside, it may be a little different story, but DK should be pretty good.
Yeah. Go back up here to the front. Ryan Matthews right now is getting all he wants out of Keith Medeiros and Colin Ullman. Joe Schaefer Jr. is just a few car lengths behind him. He may be just back here just riding it out and see what these guys are doing. As Keith Medeiros has put the pressure on Ryan Matthews right now. Ryan Matthews has a little bit of left front damage. I think he got that off the start. So Ullman gets under Keith there. Ullman got through turn 3 really well. Joe Schaefer Jr. pulls up on the back bumper of Keith Medeiros as we're working lap 20, coming to 21 of 150. Now we're coming down to lap down traffic, and this can be tricky here as well, Ty. You're coming up to lap down traffic. Obviously, you want them to stay high, but they are running their own race as well and want to stay on the lead lap. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers, or how the leaders, excuse me, as Colin Ullman looks down to Ryan Matthews, figures out how to get around these lap down cars. As they hit right into the door. There's probably accidental contact. Matthews had a great save there, and the caution is out. They're stacked up down the front stretch here. Looks like 22, Kenny Lowry. Like maybe he didn't have enough Folgers in his cup. Going back here and looking at Lowry here on the replays. Right now he's currently all by himself. Looks like he has Mark Royer right behind him, and the 71 of Matt. Matt gets, oh, it looks like maybe he was a little bit loose. Matt kind of went down there, but looks like maybe he was a little bit loose already, and he got a little bit of help, and it just stacked up on the front stretch. I collected 5 cars in there. Tough break for Mark Welch and the 85 car of Matthew Hamner. Yeah, with this is a pretty narrow racetrack. This is almost a self-cleaning racetrack for the most part, because like I said, every turn, every straightaway is banked, but it's also super narrow. So when you come up to places like what just happened there, you're hard on the brakes, and there's nowhere to go. And unfortunately for some of these guys, they got caught up in something that wasn't of their doing.
So Derek, to give you a little bit of reference here, don't look now, but who's in 5th place?
Yeah, well, Jessica didn't take long getting up there.
No, and here again, for a little bit of reference, Colin Allman's lap 19 was a 15.374, while Majeski's was a 15.290. So it looks like it should not take long for Ty to work his way up a little bit closer to the front and really challenge for the lead, I would suspect.
Yeah, but it's, you know, we'll see how much more speed he does actually have, you know, compared to the 3 in front of him, especially his posse teammate Joe Schaefer. You know, like we stated before, it is hard to pass here, and but if anybody can get it done, it's probably Probably Ty. He's got more talent than most of us anyways when it comes to sim racing or even in real life. So we'll see what he does, and he definitely will be the one to watch. There are other guys here in the top 10. Matthew Eddy is in the 10th place right now. He's up there battling. He's having a good showing so far. You got other regulars like Tim Bills that's in 9th, but you also have some newcomers, like Ken Moran Jr. and James Passmore Jr. It's up here. These guys are making a little bit of names for themselves as well. So we'll see what they can do. It's still early on. It's lap 27 to come to 28 of 150. So a lot of racing still to be had. Green flag's back out. Colin got a great start, and then it looks like one spinning down low and went to the moon. Didn't catch who that was. It may have been Andre there. It was Andre. We gotta catch this on replay here. We're coming back and watch this replay, and he was starting on the inside row there in P5. Colin got off to that great start once again. Perks of being the leader. May have been. I don't know. That was weird. Did he blink on? Yeah, it looks like maybe he blinked a little bit. Did he blink for you, Ty?
Yeah, I believe he turned into a ghost there for a little while.
Yeah, that's a tough break for him, as he was running up there in 5th. We've had 3 cautions now. We've only had 1 lead change, and the fastest lap so far tonight is from Colin Allman, who is your current leader at a 14:82. Those 8s won't last long, as Ty Spearman has already told us. There's some other guys coming from the back that are working their way up front. And still early, so we still have a lot of laps left. I still expect to hear something from Matt Rolfe. He's always one of those ones that come in late. Daryl Hamlin started up front. He actually started in 3rd spot, and he's fallen back all the way to 15th. Unfortunately, he's been starting on the outside here for a couple of these restarts, besides the very initial one. So he's had some bad luck there. But Daryl Hamlin is in the pits. Probably changing some springs, knowing him. One of those things that he does at the last second, he's kind of frustrated with the setup, and he just starts making spring changes, and that's dangerous. That's very dangerous to do. These cars are very sensitive to spring changes, so hard to say what's going on with him. But to go through your top 5 here, Colin Allman is 1st, Keith Menaros is 2nd, Joe Schaefer Jr., who is 2nd in the point series, is 3rd. Ty Majeski, who's making a spot start to join us here tonight to have a little fun, is 4th. 5th, Ken Moran Jr. 6th, Philip Martin. 7th is James D. Passmore Jr. 8th is Tim Bills. 9th is Matthew Eddy. And 10th is Zach Novak. We get the 1 to go here. It'll be on Colin Allman again. Looking to get off to a good start. And if you're Keith Menaros, you're probably looking to fall in front of Joe Schaefer as well. Ty, have you ever laid off if you're 3rd, knowing that the inside is a place like Oxford or maybe even here? Do you even let the guy in 2nd fall in line, knowing that maybe there's a lot of cautions that are still to be had?
I mean,
just have that inside line.
Yeah, I would rather start on the inside, but you never know when you're going to get that long run. So. If you can get 2nd, get it.
Well, it looks like what Joe Schaefer's doing right now. He looks like he's trying to go after 2nd from Keith Menaros. Right now, he's got a nose on him going into 3, and the car gets tight there, it looks like, in the center. Keith's going to pull out in front of him down into turn 1 to fall into 2nd place. Joe's 3rd. Ty Majeski's 4th. And Moran Jr. rounds out your top 5. That's top 5 are single file. Top 6, 7 now single file. There's some good battle. The 46 car gets into the wall. Philip Martin coming out of turn 3. It tightens up a lot coming out of turn 3 there. Everyone's battling for position, trying to get down low. Still early on in the race. Colin Allman's out to a 6/10 of a second lead. But looks like the best battle on the track right now might be with David Kikorian and the 28 car of Donald Clark. Corey looks like he's going to get that spot. BK's trying to work his way back up to the front here after that early caution, getting involved in that early caution. I'll go ahead and jinx it here, but it does look like we may have a decent green flag run here as the field's starting to spread out. Everyone's trying to figure out what they have underneath them. I would say probably within the next 10 or so laps, if you got something that can go up through the field, or if you're going to be one of those anchors and just follow away to the back. We'll go up here and look at time adjusting. Right now he's right behind Joe. His teammate Joe's catching up there to Keith Meadows as Colin Oman starts pulling away. Now Ty, if you're Ty Majeski, what do you do here when you got a teammate in front of you?
So there's no doubt in my mind that, we got a caution.
Yes, we got a caution. We'll go back to that here in just a second once we catch this replay. Figure out who it was. It's... I'm 100% sure who that was. Might have been 81. Oh. Not 100% sure who that was on that caution. Just trying to go back through the lineup. Can't do that if you want to finish up on that thought there, Ty. But if you're Ty Majeski and you're right behind your teammate, maybe just a little bit faster, how's that play out there? Maybe for your all's team. I know it may vary from team to team.
Well, I'm sure that Joe has talked to Ty and said, hey, I can see you're faster than me. If you want by, I'll move over for you. But I'm going to bet that Ty right now has just probably told Joe, just run your line. I'm just going to follow here behind you. If I'm still faster here in the next 20 laps, I'll let you know. And maybe at that point in time, Joe would move over. Just kind of depends. Was that one of those phantom debris cautions?
Yeah, it could have been one of those debris cautions. There's a lot of cars that went down pit road probably to fix damage. Could have been either one of those cars. I know some of them were in the prior wrecks.
I think
maybe on 2 to go here.
Yeah, I think as you said earlier, Derek, there's certainly some more guys in the field that you really have to look at when as the track heats up, as more rubber's laid down, as you get a longer green flag run. No doubt DK will work his way back up front. Tim Bills, Zach Novak. Zach is an awesome sim racer, and I know I personally enjoy racing around Zach weekly. Hey, I'm not racing this week, but Zach is certainly one to watch as well.
Well, I can't help but notice that you're not racing tonight, and there's a certain someone as we're about to come back to the green that isn't racing tonight as well, and Adam Benenfield. And I know y'all have like a love-hate for each other. It seems like as Colin Oman really gets off to it's almost a jump restart, even though the pace car got all 4 tires off the racing surface, so legally by the SARA rulebook, it was a good restart, but I'm sure it caught everyone off guard. Joe fell back to 5th on that one. Jeski's up to 3rd, so he got a good restart. But yeah, there are some guys in this league, that have been around for a while, or just it's racing here tonight, and even including the other series that is raced here. And there's some that you get along with great, and there's others that you don't. But we all race each other respectfully. But you and Adam seem like y'all have a little thing for each other, maybe.
I'll tell you, the relationship between the Posse and Dynamic Motorsports is, or pardon me, Dynamic Auto Sports. I've had my hand slapped before because I said it wrong. But anyway, yeah, Dynamic Auto Sports. Look, we've got a great relationship with one another, and Adam and I, we do go at one another a good bit, but he is a great guy, and he's got a wonderful team over there with Dynamic. And to be honest with you, I like to talk to them in their team speak and practice trucks with them at times, even though that's not my forte. But we do have a good time together.
Yeah, they seem like a pretty good group of guys. Definitely fast, just like you all are as Majeski. Got around Keith Meteros as Keith got loose out of turn 3 a lap or 2 ago. But that's what it is, you know, that goes for anyone that's watching this. If you want to come join this league, you know, come join it. Come race with some of the best sim racers on the service, period. Forget about just short track racing or super late models at that. And come join up. Not everyone here is on a team. There are other guys that are independent guys. You have big teams out there. There's another caution. But if you're interested, please sign up. Go to racesara.com. Sign up. You could be out here racing with some of the likes of Tom Majeski and Matt Rolfe, Colin Allman, Joe Schaefer Jr., and even Ty Spearman when he does race. Go back here on the 85, Matthew Hamner. Looks like he was the cause of the caution, and he got loose out of the trial over there. And I'm willing to bet it's either one of two things: either the car was already loose, or he may even got down there a little bit on the apron of the dog leg and upset the car and spun out. Had a rough night of it. That's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, there's an elevation change there, Derek, going into turn 2 there at the dog leg, and if your car's already loose, the last thing you want to do is really get those left sides on the apron. It's just going to upset the car even more. It looks like that's what happened to Hamner there.
Yeah, well, if the car's already loose, last thing you want to do is de-wedge it like that, getting it on the apron and halfway on the track, because even though it's a little short track, and I think there on the back stretch it's banked at 11 degrees, so it's not extremely banked, but compared to 0 from the apron, it can upset the car. That was our 5th caution of the night. We're on lap 59, working lap 60 of 150. Colin Allman is your leader. Tom Majeski in his spot start is currently P2. Keith Meteros is in 3rd. James D. Passmore Jr. 4th, and Joe Schaefer Jr. rounding out your top 5, and just to add another junior, Ken Morin Jr. in 6th. We've had some comers and goers so far this race. That top 8 car invert from qualifying has, shook up the lineup there to start. Colin Allman was the beneficiary of all of that. Even though he started at 8th, he is currently P1. Right now, you still got some guys. DK's made his way back up to 10th here. Matt Rolfe's up to 12th. So some of these guys are picking off some guys on the beginning of these restarts. If we can get a longer green flag run, it'd be interesting to see if they can make it up a little bit further. I'm also interested to see on this restart if Colin's able to get off to a pretty good start, or if Ty's able to hang with him, or what happens here. As we got 1 to go, coming to the green flag last time, Colin didn't waste any time on this restart. As soon as the pace car ducked off, got all 4 off the racing service, he was gone. Now he waits. There's a long restart zone from here. It's not normal. And we are green, green, green. Colin gets off to a good start. Majeski gets off to a good start as well, as he'll fall in behind him as it's side by side for 3rd place. Excuse me. Oh, and the 80. Oh, there's a big wreck. That's the 86 car.
Oh,
there's
Matt
a huge
Rolfe,
wreck.
yeah.
Rolfe gets in it. Royer gets in it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 cars at least that are in it in turn 3. And I caught the tail end of that just out of the corner of my eye on my right monitor. And I think the 86 got extremely loose. Don't know if he got help in James Passmore Jr. I don't know if he got help or if he just got on the apron or what was it, but he was all crossed up coming out of the dog leg on the back. Go ahead and go and watch that here on the replay. Team here on the outside of Keith. I couldn't tell if Joe got into him or not, but he definitely got into him the second time after he's already spinning. There's a bunch of cars that got caught up in that. Tore up a lot of race cars. I have to say exactly what happened. Happened with James Passmore and Joe there. That was extremely close racing, I will say that. Do you have a different look at that tie, or how did it look like to you?
Well, I'm looking at it, and I'm on hotel internet at this particular time, so you know, it looks like there was some room between Joe and Passmore, but and his car went around. It could have been a little bit of net code, maybe it wasn't. So hard for me to make that call. Yeah,
that's close. I was watching it here again myself, and it is close. The gap, there was a gap between Joe's car and James' car, but there was also a gap between their cars as well the second time that that it appeared that James got hit. So you know that the crash boxes on these cars can probably be cleaned up there a little bit as well. You'd know more about that than I would, but it's pretty close racing. Sometimes, unfortunately, that's just the way it goes when you're working that close in these tight quarters here at Concord.
Yeah, exactly, and you know the crash points or the impact zones on this car is certainly not the only thing that needs to be fixed with these. But honestly, in this particular case, if I'm Joe Schaefer and I'm in doubt if I think I was the cause of the caution, I'd much rather go ahead and get the penalty at the end of the longest line instead of being placed at the you know, losing all of your positions there at the end of the race due to a penalty.
That's a good point here as we get one to go that I haven't brought up yet. You know, we do have a gentleman's rule here where you do claim your caution, and if you don't at the end of the race, once the admins review the race, if we've declared that you did cause the caution and you didn't claim it, you get an EOL in the results. So apparently Joe feels confident enough that he didn't do anything on that. Says we're about to go back to green. We are green, green, green as Allman gets off to a great restart, but so does Keith Metteroff. He looks like he's going to fill up the door there of Ty Majeski going into one. Ty drives it down there. It sticks, so you know he's just, we got another caution here. And these cautions, green cautions here right now. Like Mark Royer's up into the wall. I'm not too sure who got into that.
I believe it was Donald Clark.
Donald Clark. Go ahead and watch it here on Donald Clark on this restart. See what he sees. Gets going here. He's got Souza around him. Ron Matthews is around him. Looks like he can go up to the greatest stars. Matthews takes it 3 wide, and there's just no room. It just tightens up. I mean, he can barely fit 2 around here. People are checking up behind him. As Royer gets involved just a little bit, catches the tail end, slaps the rear end into the wall. Yeah, it could have been a lot more cars involved in that. And Matthews seen his opportunity to pounce, and Donald Clark wasn't going to let him have it. I guess that's just what happens right there when you have 2 guys disagreeing on whose spot it is.
I think if you're on the inside going into that corner on the restart, I think you give the inside up and you go ahead and get back in line. You should be able to run 3 wide, but to be honest with you, Concord, that's a little bit much to ask going into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely funnels down right there. I mean, you can be on the outside, as Majeski showed early on in that restart, that you can be on the outside and make it work. And Ryan was there, but you know, maybe Donald didn't feel like that he was, or you know, Ryan felt like he was up far enough. It did look like he was kind of up to his door, but you know, we are, you know, on lap 71 coming 72. We've had 7 cautions now, so if I had to guess, Matt Rolfe, who is the league admin, the lead admin of this whole league in series for us, is probably on the mic telling everyone to you know, calm down here a little bit. It's a little too many cautions, as is to start this race, and you know, try to get some laps under our belt. So it's never good when Dad's mad. Colin Olmans is leading the way with Tom Majeski and Keith Menderos running out to top 3. And, you know, you stated earlier there's some guys there further back that tend to work their way back up to the front. And David Kokorian is one of those guys. He's up to P8 currently. Like I said, he was involved early on in that first caution. Got a little front end damage, and apparently it hasn't affected him too much as he is starting 8th on this restart. Now it looks like the league admin has made him go single file restarts here. Matt Rolfe made him go single files. The pace car pulls off. This is all on Colin Allman on the restart. As we are back to green, green, green. See if we can get them all spread out here a little bit, get some green flag racing underway. Colin Allman takes it down into turn 3. He's going to complete lap 74, working on lap 75 now with Tom Majeski in second, Metterol's running third. Currently right now, Allman's pulled out to almost a half-second lead on Majeski, but I'm sure right now everyone's wanting to get some laps under their belt. As it looks like David Kokorian's working over Philip Martin, or at least he was, trying to work his way back up to 7th place. Now, Ty, these single file restarts, that kind of speeds up the process a little bit of you trying to work over a guy and, you know, maybe make some passes here.
Well, you really like it if you're the guy on the outside. So if you would have been on the outside on the double file restart. So this really benefits, I think, the guys who are your even number, you know, in the even numbers as far as restart goes.
Right, so Majeski and Schaefer and Novak and DK, guys like that, they were starting on the outside there, got a good break by just starting single file, which, you know, like I said, it's a double-edged sword. The restarts are exciting when they're double file, but, you know, when the guys can't get it together here, you know, there have been times, just like now, where Matt will ask the guys to go single file, get some good laps under our belt, as DK is still working over the rear bumper of Philip Martin, and he's got a mirror full of the Exalta Chevrolet. Go back up front here to Colin Allman. He's coming up on traffic. He's coming up on the back end of Matthew Hamner, who's had a not so great night for himself, but that's okay. He's still out here logging laps, getting some experience under his belt. And Colin pulled out. He's up to almost a 3/4 second lead over Majeski, and it's still early on. We're just a little over halfway. Lap 82, coming to lap 83. Past the 85 good. Now he's coming up on Steven Janis. Then he'll have some clear road ahead of him. You know, I guess if you're Colin now, you're just pretty much trying to maintain that gap between you and Majeski. At the point, I'm sure Majeski's not pushing, but if you are Majeski, I guess you can't let him get away too much, because you don't know if we're going to keep having cautions or not.
Yeah, that's true. You want to get away as much as you can. Try to make Majeski run as hard as he can to catch you without burning up your own stuff.
And they're about to come up to Ryan Matthews and Tim Bills and a couple other guys here in the back of this pack. You got Matthews, 71 of Matt Bonte, and then Matt Rolfe is a little bit ahead of them. But you got Royer back here too, so they're about to catch these guys who are just a little bit off pace, probably have some damage to their cars and from the couple of wrecks. And you know, these guys aren't slow guys, even though they have some damage and they're back here, you know, fighting out for the 18th, 19th spot. But I don't know if they're just going to pull over or not once Colin catches up to them, because right now Colin's running right around 2/10, 3/10 of a second faster than these guys. Now, Ty, you're not the one to really go that lap down much, but if you are, how do you usually treat it if leaders are coming up onto you like this, especially knowing that you know, the leader is getting some pressure from second place?
Well, I try to give them as much room as possible, and the reason is I really hope that one day they remember it when I'm lapping them, that I let them go, you know, a few races back, and remember me doing that, and hopefully they'll repay the favor.
We'll see what Matt, Tim, and Ryan do. You know, Tim and Ryan are usually your top 10, top 5 guys, and Ryan Matthews has already won once this year. So you know he can get it done. So we'll see what he does here, because him and Colin have been in all the races so far. And so maybe Colin will repay the favor if Ryan does pull over for him, as they're catching up to the tail end here. And Majeski's pulled that gap back down to a half second here, so he's kind of pulled Colin back in as well. If we stay green here, it's going to get super interesting. And you know, if you're Majeski, we'll probably try to keep the pressure on Colin, maybe let him make a mistake, hopefully, so you can have an easy pass by him, because it's extremely hard to pass here. Oh, and there goes back. That's what we were talking about right there. Matt accidentally got into Colin. Colin gets into the outside wall. Majeski's watching the whole thing as he pulls up next to him. I wonder if it did any damage. You think any damage like that would cause any handling issues for Colin, and you know, especially in the right front, maybe knocking a toe in or out on it?
It could certainly affect the handling, no doubt. Depends. You know, in iRacing, they count your incidents as 2x or 4x you know, if you hit the wall. If Colin gained a 4x there, he hit pretty hard.
Oh, and it looks like he got hit, excuse me, there from the 8 car, as he got extremely close from spinning out there. I think that's near Billy Moan in the 8 car, got into his door, and he had a great save coming out of it, and Majeski's on the back end of him now. And then Majeski is taking over the lead here on lap 96 of 150. Colin's back on. Colin gives him a little bit of bump. I think Majeski gave him a little bit of 1 into 3. There's blood in the water now.
Yeah, that was shaping up to be a mess.
Yeah, the fact that we stayed green and everyone kept it going in the right direction, as there is a caution here now. So maybe that looks like it's maybe the 46 car, Philip Martin, facing the wrong direction, doing his best Joe Schaefer impression. Go back and watch the SARA TV replay here. Behind Mark Royer and David Kokorian, back down in the dog leg. I think he ends up getting turned around the wrong direction going into turn 1. We'll see what happens here in a moment. Oh, it looks like he just squeezed up into Mark Royer. Mark Royer couldn't go anywhere else. I'm almost certain of it, as Philip gets rolled over on his lid, back on 4 wheels, gets it in gear, gets going. So it looks like he just maybe squeezed up into Royer. Probably wasn't anything on purpose. It's just like I said, it tightens up coming out of turn 3. Locked doors and got turned.
Exactly, and that's I consider that an iRacing feature, when you can turn your car over and be on your lid and come back on your tires and keep on racing.
Keep on going.
Yeah, I've got some experience doing that at all places, the bull ring.
Yeah, I think there's more flips there than the ARCA race at Daytona. So that was a wild one to watch there at the bull ring. And this one's turning out to kind of be the same. Unfortunately, a lot of guys that maybe aren't given enough room. And then there's some other ones that are racing incidents, kind of like between Matt and the 67. Matt's kind of as high as he can go, but at the same time, Colin, green flag's out. He's got to go as well. So, especially with Majeski behind him, so there's no room to breathe, and that was pretty tight. I'm sure Colin would probably say he needed more room, and Matt would probably say he gave as much room as he could. So, unfortunate on how that all worked out, but we'll see if Colin, what he can do here on this restart, and I'll also be interested to see if Matt keeps it single file or if he goes back to double file. Like we got the 2 to go there, so next time around should be 1 to go, and it'll give us a sign on how this restart is going to play out. This time Majeski is leading the way on lap 102 and 150. Colin Allman is second, who's led the majority of the race. Keith Medeiros is third. Joe Schaefer Jr. second in points is fourth, and Zach Novak rounds out your top 5. We're at 1 to go, and it looks like we are going to stay single file. So if you're Colin Allman, you're Joe Schaefer Jr., if you're Ken Warren Jr., you're loving that you're single file. You don't have to worry about battling down, getting down to the inside, because you would be starting on the outside traditionally. Pace car is off, and this restart is all on Majeski, and if I had to guess, he's probably going to start in the middle of this turn, and he's going to take off. And that's pretty much what he did. Going to the green. Got off to a great restart there, and he's probably going to try to get small now, as we have 145 laps left in this main event for this week for the Sim Auto Racing Association Tundra Super Sim Series. Now, this is the time when Ty's probably got to go, right? There's no one else can pit. It's not like we can take tires or anything. He can kind of maintain this gap, maybe get out to a half second, 3/4 second of lead, just maybe maintain that, or even try to pull away as a whole.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that maybe we want to keep an eye on is Ty called Colin while Colin was in traffic. We don't really know how good, before that, Colin had stretched out his lead a little bit, so be interesting to see with nothing in front of Ty and Colin in tow right behind him if Colin can keep pace.
Yeah, that is a very good point. Some of these guys are, at least on my screen, are smacking the wall here coming out of the dog leg more than anything else. So they were pushing. I know in testing, there was at times if you got the line right, you could go full throttle early on with fresh tires through that dog leg. Now the tires are worn out, 108, almost 109 laps on these tires. There's probably some grip that's given up just as you're exiting the dog leg, and they're kind of smacking the outside wall. As Majeski is pulling away here, a little bit over a half-second lead to Colin Allman, as Colin is getting a ton of pressure for Keith Medeiros, and Keith gets loose. Coming out of 4, back the wall a little bit. Joe will take that spot. He won't be arguing there as he's over in P3, and he's probably going to try to catch up here a little bit. Colin, and maybe don't look or don't give up on Joe Schaefer Jr. just as of yet, as Medeiros is still loose out of 4. He may be a tight loose, and those are the worst things to have. Zach Novak is working under him currently for 4th. Ken Warren Jr. is just looking for a place to go. That is really tight coming out of 4. Now, Ty, correct me if I'm wrong. If you, and it seems like it's with the right rears more than anything else, but if you get these right rears, you slide the right rear a few times around here, it takes them a while to cool back down for your car not to really feel like it's snappy loose.
Exactly. I mean, once you, in the super late models here with iRacing, if you upset the right rear, if you spin it and the right rear heats up, honestly, it takes a long time for that tire to cool down and get some grip back in it. And after you do it, you got a handful for the next few laps. Typically, what I do if I upset the right rear, the next probably 3 or 4 laps, I run a pie where I can find some cooler track and let that tire try to cool off a little bit.
Yeah, and that's you may lose a position or two there, but that's better than losing a car. And spinning out causing a caution, ruining your night, maybe someone else's. So that's why I call you the wily vet. I won't call you that for no reason. You got tons of sim experience and things like that where maybe some people don't even think of. Come into play and help you out. And that's why you finish a lot of these races and why you're in the top 10 wins in the Sim Auto Racing Association. Novak gets around Keith Medeiros there, and Ken Warren Jr. is going to fall in and try to find his way around Keith as well, as Keith is struggling here a little bit late. Late in the race here, as Tom Majeski's pulled out to a 1.3 second lead, and over 2 second lead to Joe Schaefer Jr. So right now he's just coming up on some lap down traffic. This could cause some issues here. Really going to have to take his time through his traffic. He has the benefit of that. Last time when he was behind Colin Allman didn't have that. He had, Majeski pretty much on his tail the whole time, filling up his mirror, and he had to get around the traffic pretty quick. But yeah, if you're Majeski right now, you're trying to pick apart these guys and get by them as cleanly as you can, as quickly as you can, just in case something happens. As he gets around Matt Bontippy there pretty quickly, and his lead has shrunk down to a second. but it'll probably go right back as Colin Ullman's going to work over all these guys now. Just like in real life, as we have a caution. And it might be Matthew Eddy, the culprit of that caution. Go back here and look at the replay on Matt Eddy and maybe see what happened with him to bring out our 9th caution of the night. Like him and Janice is running close, and we have another flip, and he flipped multiple times. Looks like Janice bounced it off the wall and got into the right rear of Matthew Eddy. And he got hooked hard into the wall and flipped it a couple of times and back on his wheels once again. And gives it a little clutch drop, or excuse me, yeah, clutch drop, and pulls off. Yeah, he's probably pretty ticked right now. It's never too much fun getting hooked in the right rear. Ty, you may pick a heck of a week out.
Yeah, I can honestly say I'm glad I missed this one. Well, I mean, it's a tough track. It really is. And as I said in the beginning, you don't need to worry about the car in front of you or the one behind you. You need to race the racetrack. I think a lot of times you see, guys right now, I don't know, with 20 laps to go, you race everyone around you. I get that. But up until that point, you race the racetrack and control your car.
Yeah, well, it's that's definitely been proven here tonight. I think the guys who are making their way up to the front, like Majeski did, Colin did, DK is making his way back up there, and some handful of other guys. They've kind of taken care of their stuff, and they've raced the racetrack, and there's been people in front of them who have made mistakes. Some of them no fault of their own. Some of them were. They've gotten around those guys rather simply, and then they just, like you said, just ran their own race and just being nice and consistent. See if it stays that way. Be interested to see if Matt goes back to double file restarts, or if he keeps it single file. 2 to go. Should be coming to 1 to go here, if I'm not mistaken. We'll find out as we're lap 126 and 150. So we're working our way down to here at the end of the race. Now we got the 1 to go. Looks like we're staying single file. Tom Majeski's up front in his Ford Fusion, Posse-sponsored left-hander chassis car, and Paul Ullman's in second, and Joe Schaefer Jr. second in the point series is third. Controls on Tom Majeski as we're coming back to green here. If I had to guess, he's going to do about the same thing, maybe a little bit sooner. Yep, there he goes. And green, green, green. Got off to a great restart there. They're going to have a lap down car in front of him, and that's the 03 of Richard Holiday. A little bit in front of him there. We'll see if Colin, maybe he'll be able to collect himself here a little bit. Tires cool down. Maybe he can make a run at Ty. Majeski brings it back down into 3 and 4. I don't know if it's by design or not. You'd be able to tell me a little bit more, Pierman, but it looks like in 3 and 4 maybe he's moved up a little bit. He doesn't run as low as maybe some of the other guys behind him. We'll look right here. I mean, he's maybe a half lane up higher than like Joe or Colin, or maybe even Zach Novak behind him.
Yeah, that car is working really well. I think Ty can pretty much put it anywhere he wants to, but he's running that line. He's really able to carry speed down the front stretch and taking that wide entry into turn 1. You can see him right there really just square off turn 1 to be able to have a lot of speed getting into the dog leg. He's just keeping his momentum up around the whole track, and it's a perfect line.
Yeah, he was out to almost a 1.2 second lead there as we have another caution. Good battling going on behind him there for second place, as well as Colin Ullman still was able to hang on to that. I'm not too sure who was caught up in that caution.
Looks like Ryan Matthews, maybe.
Find out. Yeah, like it may have been Ryan Matthews and Donald Clark. Second incident that both of them have been in, maybe individually or as. Yeah, I'm not too sure what happened there. It's just one of those things coming out of the dog leg. Matthews and gets into the door of Clark. Clark maybe wasn't going up as high as what Matthews thought. He got into it. Tough break for them both. Matthews and Clark are having a rough night here at Concord Speedway, but that's going to be said for the majority of the field here tonight, as there's not too many cars that are clean and not bent up. Go back to our leader here, Ty Majeski, as Matt Bontibi gets the wave around. Even he's got a little dented up right front. Maybe the cleanest car out here might be your third place goer, and Joe Schaefer Jr. and his button box Loco Toco Designs posse sponsored Toyota Camry. Nope, that's Ford Fusion. Used to be a Camry. Excuse me. Majeski, it looks like maybe he's just practicing maybe his restart here, seeing what he has in first gear, make sure he doesn't spin the tires, as we do run a pretty short gear here. I guess it is possible that you can spin the tires if he's taking off in first or second gear. Not too sure what you all are running, if you're running a third or fourth gear setup here tonight, Ty, but I guess if you're running a fourth gear setup, spinning the tires is completely plausible.
Yeah, it could be possible. I'm not really sure of the setup. I haven't looked, and I would bet you that Majeski's probably running a little something different than Joe is, no doubt.
Well, we'll see what happens here as we're coming to one to go. It'll be on Ty Majeski as lap 138 and 150. We're coming down to it, and we'll see if he'll probably get off to a good restart. Knowing him, he switches up his restarts better than anyone. He's had more practice at it probably than anyone as well as being the leader. As he is green. Got off to a great restart. Colin Allman didn't get off to a bad start himself. They're going down into 1 and 2. Allman's going to give him all he wants here in these last few laps. Hopefully we can go out all the way green, see how this plays out. Allman's been fast on the super short run. Been able to hang with Tyler Majeski. I would pull it out after about 5 laps or so. Allman pulls up on him there into 1 and 2, and we got a race on our hand here for the lead. Coming down with 9 to go, working lap 141 of 150. Ty Majeski is your leader, Colin Allman second. Joe Schaefer Jr. is third. As Allman is still putting the pressure on Majeski, and Majeski cannot miss his line at this point. He's taking a, like I said, he's one of the few guys that's taken these, he's a half lane up, which maybe hurt him a little bit on entry, but he's getting a heck of a drive out of, turn 1 all the way down through the dog leg into 3.
Yeah, I think if I was Colin, I would try to duplicate that line, at least until maybe the final 5 laps, and then you're going to have to switch it up a little bit to see if you can find your way around him. But, hey, Colin's got real-world experience as well. Colin's a wheelman in real life, and I can guarantee you that even though Ty Majeski's in front of him, he's not intimidated by the man who's running P1 right now.
He's definitely giving it his all. Schaefer Jr. looks down low and Colin Allman into 3 and 4. Big complete the pass. 5 to go. Ty Majeski's pulled out to almost a half-second lead as Schaefer Jr. is giving Allman all he wants. Looks like Allman misses the entry into 3. Maybe he got into the wall, getting into the entry of 3 as Schaefer Jr. takes over to P2. Allman may be trying to do the crossover, and Joe didn't let him do it as Zach Novak's all over Allman now. Right now, this is what you want to see if you're Tyler Majeski out front. Let the guys behind you battle it out. You can just set sail. Lap 148 now of 150. Coming down to it. This is a great battle for second place as Majeski is pulled out to over a second lead. Best battle on the track currently. Right now, this is with a couple of points guys here as well. As Novak comes down in yellow, and that will be the end of the race, as this race will finish under caution, and Ty Majeski will be your winner here tonight at the Downeast Chassisworx 150 at Concord Speedway. Comes out here in his spot start with his busy racing schedule, and in real life it's picking up in the Xfinity Series and still with the super late models that he runs with the ARCA super late model series. Good to see him come out here, but when he comes out here, he's always a threat for the win. That looks like your team will come out of here with a 1-2 finish on the top two steps of the podium, so that's a good showing for you all tonight.
Yep, that's a pretty good run. I just wish the racing would have been a little bit better and wouldn't have had so many cautions.
Yeah, and that will be a topic of conversation, I'm sure. Me and Matt and a couple of our other teammates and other admins will be discussing that. And there's not a lot that you can do outside of just, you know, getting on guys and telling them we got to clean it up. But that's for a topic for another day. But currently, the Ty Majeski and his Ford Fusion Loco Toco Designs Posse sponsored Ford Fusion is your winner here tonight. Joe Schaefer Jr. is second. Colin Allman is third, and that is your top three here for tonight. So there will be a points shakeup by the end of all of this, as Joe Schaefer Jr. will close the gap on Jimmy Mullis in the top spot. And there will be some other guys that will lose some points. Well, everyone will gain on Jimmy Mullis, obviously, since he's not here tonight. And you get 2 drop weeks, so this will obviously be one of Jimmy Mullis's drop weeks. But Joel Schaefer Jr. will close in the points as we bring up the results here now. And as I stated, Ty Majeski finishing first, Joe Schaefer Jr. finishing second, Colin Allman third, Zach Novak fourth, fifth, Ken Moran Jr., sixth, Keith Mederos, seventh, Kyle Souza, good run for him. DK came back to finish eighth, ninth, Michael Goodard. Rounding out your top 10 is Daryl Hamlin, and he pitted there early on in the race. Not too sure what he did for the pits, but apparently his spring change ended up working out as he finishes out with a nice top 10 finish. Well, Ty, there were a lot of cautions here tonight, 11 in total for our 150 laps, so that's, you know, that's clearly about 6 or 7 probably, if not a little bit more than we wanted to have. But when there was green flag racing, it was green flag racing at that, around this little tight 3-turn trial.
Yeah, Derek, I think one thing that our drivers in this league need to remember is if you have a clean race in SARA, there are, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but you get bonus points for finishing a race without any incidents. Now, if you're one of the guys in the back that maybe has problems or are worried about qualifying for the next race, you know, you can get in on a provisional based on your points. If you are in a lot of instances in past races, you're not going to be able to get those additional points or those bonus points for racing clean and staying out of trouble. So you're not losing points. You're actually gaining points. And I think that's one thing guys need to keep in mind, is that if you race clean, make the races, and there may be times where you're just not on your qualifying setup and you need to fall back on a provisional. And if you've raced clean and stay out of trouble, hey, you could get that provisional spot and be able to make the show.
You are correct with that, you know, and there was, and I believe that they still do, you know, hard charger awards, where, you know, you'll get a hard charger award if you gain the most spots from your qualifying spot, and you know, you get bonus points for that as well. So there's multiple ways you can get bonus points from even just, you know, starting further in the back. So patience does pay off. You know, when I was racing, I'm not the best qualifier. Everybody knows that. But one way or the other, I was making my way up to the front. And you know, you can do it just by running clean, and it's pretty fun at that, especially when you get some green flag runs in and you're able to pass guys under green. Maybe next week for our big race, you know, Matt's definitely going to want to clean it up for that, and you know, we'll see how that goes. But for tonight, you know, that's, you know, it's just the way it goes. It was a little short track. It's pretty tight, and you know, that's just, you're going to have some beating and banging every now and then. But we'll go ahead and just, you know, wrap this up here. Go ahead and talk about our sponsors once again and our partners with the Sim Auto Racing Association. Like I said, none of this can happen without their help. They help put on these races and sessions and so forth. So first and foremost, you know, would like to thank you for the Tundra Super Late Models for sponsoring this series, Loco Toco Designs for everything that they put forth towards the series as well, Hides Pride Leather and Sheepskin, Callaway Investments to sponsor our Sportsman Series, Epic Media, our insurance options, Back 40 Wraps Inc., Downeast Chassisworx, who sponsored tonight's race, Old School, Sports, Doctor's Noise, Area 52 Designs, Midwest Race Updates, who's sponsoring the big race we'll get to here in a second for next week, Dynamic Auto Sports. So next week, we will be heading into a special event. As we know, week 13 is next week for iRacing. So generally, the Sim Auto Racing Association will take off during that week. So there's not any issues with servers and everything else that goes on with the big patch and updates that goes on with iRacing. But next week, we are going to do one thing, and it's going to be a special Midwest Race Updates qualifying night at Irwindale Speedway. It's on the outer portion of it, and it's the qualifying night for the Springfest 300 at Irwindale. So Ty, you're going to be in there on that. You should be, barring anything work related or anything like that. What do you know, you're going to be in the top 15 in points, so you should be in the race automatically. But what do you look forward to more than anything for the qualifying night? You just trying to get out there and make a good lap, or are you going to be focusing more on your race set for the week after that?
Well, I mean, really what you're going to be focused on next week is just making sure that you turn a good lap and try to get a good starting spot, because track position means so much at Irwindale. So be a lot of fast laps next week. You've got a whole week to work on your race setup after that. So it'll all be about taping it up and going as fast as you can for one lap.
Yeah, and it's, you know, for that track and the way that the you know, iRacing has the track dynamic, and with this tire model here, you know, with Irwindale, you run it from the very bottom all the way to the very top, especially when the track gets worn in. But for qualifying, it's going to be interesting to see what lines people choose, as we will be broadcasting the qualifying night for this, and it'll be a 9:30 normal starting time for that when practice opens up. Time trials will begin at 9:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, you know, come and join us, and you'll see Ty Spearman out there, see what kind of lap that he puts down. And he's always a threat for the pole every week. And we qualifying night for that. And just after that, at 10:30 approximately, will be the last chance qualifier for the guys that did not make it in on points or on time. That will be a 100-lap race event. And, you know, it should be pretty exciting leading up into the March 15th Midwest Power Sports Spring Fest 300 at Irwindale Speedway. Before we get off here, is there anything else you'd like to say, or anything, you know, going forward, anybody you'd like to thank?
Well, from the land of cheese curds and old fashions, I'm ready to get back to South Carolina. So it was good to be able to watch the race tonight, be able to I guess throw a little bit of my sim racing knowledge in with the broadcast and give you someone else to talk to.
It was nice. I appreciate you coming in here with me tonight and talking with me. It's always a joy talking with you. I hate it that you weren't out there, because I do like to rib you a little bit about a few things when you're out there racing. But it was a blast for you coming in here, and my door's always open for any of the other guys that want to come in here and chit chat and talk about the race. I'm completely fine with that, or I'll just do it by myself. It really don't matter to me. But thanks for coming up here tonight. I look forward to seeing you out there next week.
Sounds good. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, bud. And for anybody else, thank you for joining. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening or watching, please join us again next week for the Midwest Race Updates Qualifying Night at Irwindale Speedway. See you then.